Do you want to write in your client's voice more effectively and quickly? I'm going to show you how to train AI to sound like someone. First, we'll cover best practices. When would and wouldn't you want to sound like someone? Then I'll share the pre-training steps that you can take to make AI sound like them without working yourself out of a job. Next, I'll show you a special trick to keep track of the different brand voices. And finally, I'll share the 4 steps to take to sound like your client. First of all, best practices. When do and don't you want to sound like someone? We want to make sure if you are using AI to sound like your client that they know about it. They may not want to use AI at all. And even if they do, they probably want to be aware of whether or not you're using it and how you're using it. For example, if you're using ChatGPT and you're using the team version, it doesn't store the information you put in there. If you're using the free version of ChatGPT, it does. So it's important to not only check in with the client that you're working with and make them aware, but also make sure you're using the tool that's not going to input their content into the language learning model. And finally, we want to make sure that you're not using anything proprietary. Back when ChatGPT first came out, this was a huge faux pas that happened with Samsung. Somebody from their team entered in proprietary information when they were trying to fix something with the code, essentially putting into the language learning model something that was proprietary that they definitely didn't want to go into the hands of everyone. All right, so let's say you cleared it with your client. They're saying, go ahead, let's do this, it'll be faster. Now, how do you train this AI tool without working yourself out of a job? The first thing you want to do is be clear with your client about the limitations. Yes, you can use ChatGPT for a lot and it'll help a lot, but you are still needed for this process because you are still the one that's going to be implementing. One of the best ways to guarantee that you still have a job is be the person that implements. A lot of entrepreneurs say things like, oh, I could totally use ChatGPT to do this, but then they don't. And that's where you come in, and that's where you have some job security too. Until there are AI agents that can do the tasks for you, you still have plenty of job security by being an implementer. That being said, there will come a time, and it's coming quickly, where AI will be able to do a lot of those things for you, where your client can set up a trigger and all the content will be set up for them in their brand voice. That's why it's important for you to be ahead of the game with AI, for you to know how to be the implementer, the fixer when things go wrong, or when ChatGPT gives the wrong output, and to know how to edit. If you know these things, you're safeguarding yourself so you're not working yourself out of a job. Now let's talk about those pre-training steps. How will you actually train ChatGPT or train a GPT to sound like you or to sound like your client? The first thing we want to have in place is a brand voice document. Generally speaking, you can even improve your brand document by using ChatGPT. If you already have one, here's what you're going to do. Copy and paste the brand document into ChatGPT and say, I want you to review this brand document. Ask me questions that will help us go more in depth on this brand voice document. It's going to ask you questions and you can answer them. You may not want to answer all the questions it gives you because it might give you a lot, and that's okay. Answer as many questions as you'd like and then ask it to fill in the answers based on what it thinks from what you've already said and the information you've already given it. Then have it recreate the brand document, going more in depth this time. In the brand document, we want to think about your client's typical voice. What are things they do and don't say? Phrases they do use, phrases they don't use. Next, we want to add in information about your client's audience. Who is the audience? What do they do? What are the patterns that they're seeing? In other words, are many of the clients Enneagram 8s? Are most of the clients introverts? What do they have in common? You may find that it's difficult to find what they have in common because your client is so close to it or you're so close to it. If that happens, you can start to look at surveys your audience has taken for you, questions they've answered, and then have ChatGPT to do the rest. You can say something like this: ChatGPT, I want you to review the information I've given you and go deeper on my audience. Ask me any questions you need to so that we can go deeper on who my audience is at an identity level. When you think you've gone deep enough, go deeper. It's gonna ask you some questions and you can answer those so that it'll go deeper. Let's say you only use AI for this, for the brand voice, for the audience document, and then you take that and work on it to improve your own understanding of your client's voice. You can absolutely do that. That might be something else you can do to not work yourself out of a job. The next thing you want to add in is your audience's problems. What are some of the problems you or your client solve for them with the offers you or your client have? Now, if you're working with many clients, here's a special trick so that you don't have to continually go looking for the chats and losing them and looking for them again, and it just takes a lot of time. We want to help you save as much time as possible. That's why we're using AI, right? So what you'll do if you're using ChatGPT is you'll rename the chat. I like to rename it as C and then the client's name. This makes it really easy for me to find all of my client chats. All I have to do is Command F or Control F and then type in C It's gonna help me find all of those chats. The other thing that you can and I think should be doing is copying the URL at the top of that ChatGPT link. If I'm working with a client called Sally Johnson, I'm gonna put in the chat title, C-Sally Johnson. Then I'm gonna go to the top of that chat where the URL is, copy it, and put it into my important URLs spreadsheet. That way, anytime I'm working on Sally Johnson's things, I can go to the spreadsheet, click on the chat, and it'll open right away. I don't have to go searching, I don't have to load more. It's gonna save you a lot of time. Now, I promised I'd tell you the 4 steps to train AI to sound like yourself or a client. Get your pen or pencil ready, here we go. Step number 1, use that pre-training documentation that we talked about for brand voice, problems, audience, and then you wanna pair that with your client's transcripts. By doing that, you're gonna have not only how your client sounds, but also who their audience is, how their brand voice is, all of that. Combine that together, and that's a really winning combination. It makes it much easier to get the exact content we want way faster. Step 2, when you're training it, you're going to give specific feedback. You're not gonna say, I like this, I don't like this, and that's it. You're gonna say, I like this because. I don't like this because. Typically, if I'm doing, let's say, an email, I'm gonna go line by line for that first email. I know you might be thinking, but Brittany, that means it's gonna take much longer. It's gonna be so much slower. If I could, I could just do it myself easier. But every time we say I could do it myself faster is another time that we're actually having to do it ourselves. By training it and taking the time to go back and forth, you don't have to be the one that does it start to finish every single time for the rest of your life. You can be the person that comes in and polishes it, but you don't have to be the person starting from zero, starting from a blank page. And that makes a huge difference. So give specific feedback. The next thing you're going to do is give examples. So not just, I like this because, I don't like this because. If there's something you don't like, you're gonna say why you don't like it. So an example of that could be, I don't like this because nobody actually talks this way. Or I don't like this because it sounds like you're a robot. I don't like this because it's not conversational. Those are some examples of some of the examples I would give when I'm saying I don't like this. And then I would pair it with an example of what I do want. I don't like this because it sounds like you're a robot. Instead, I want something like this. And then I would redo the sentence so it actually sounds like a conversation, like a human talking to another human. And finally, step 4 is to save the feedback. Any kind of feedback you give in that client's chat, save it as a document, as a feedback document for that specific client so that you can just copy and paste that in for the next time that ChatGPT is acting a little bit wonky. Now, if you and your client are both on board with you using AI to be able to work faster, better, more efficiently, and they have a launch coming up, even if it's in the next few months, you're going to want this free gift that I have for you. It's called the AI to 10K workshop, and it's gonna show you how to make more on your next launch using AI. I give you all the prompts so you can do it quickly and efficiently. My name is Brittany Long. Click on the link that comes with this video to get the AI to 10K workshop for free.